Hi guys, it's just me. So today is currently 19th of April and it is 20 to 8 in the morning. I'm in my pajamas because I just got changed. I came from work from a night shift and I literally have like 6 more night shifts to do after this one. But I just felt the urge to open up the camera and just talk about my feelings. So 2 years ago is when my dad passed away, and if you guys don't know, 2 years ago is when COVID happened and the first lockdown happened and everything kind of just went downhill for everybody, and that included me. I think I was feeling the effect of it. That's how I felt, because I just, imagine going through isolation and feeling so secluded from everything and everyone, and then having to go through a grieving process that you still now, to this day, 2 years later, I still haven't fully processed. And that is down to the fact that I didn't get to say goodbye. So I guess I just wanted to come on here because I just wanted to share my experience and my thoughts and my feelings, just so I can look back on this whenever I feel like I would want to and see how far I've come. I mean, 2 years is, I guess, to some people a while already to process everything and to go through the grieving, or the 5 stages of grief, as you say. But personally, I feel like I haven't gone through that, or I haven't gone through the necessary process that I have to get to the point of acceptance. I would say from then on until now, the process I'm at is just going along with it, getting on with it, let's say. It hasn't sunk in, it hasn't processed as normally. I don't even know what that means, normally, as I would like, but my days just go on, my evenings just go on, and time just passes. Obviously, this is my diary, and this video is gonna mean so much to me later on, because then I can look back and see, where I'm at this stage, and then at that stage, and then I can compare from here on now and in the future when I do look back on this and say, yeah, am I in the same position that I'm in now, compared to in the future when I'm looking back at it, or have I gone a long way with how I feel about things and how I see things and my perspectives in my dad's passing. So before I can get to that, I just want to go through and reminisce, I guess, because I feel like saying it out loud helps me so much. And I'm already gonna warn you guys, if I start bawling my eyes, then just start over with my relationship with my dad. So from a very young age, my mum and dad have separated from the age of 3. That's how I've always known the relationship to be. They've always been separated, and to be honest, I would say that didn't really affect me growing up, because that's all I've known. I don't remember them being together and being a couple and being, in one household parenting me, or single parent child. That was the relationship I had with either my dad and my mum. My childhood growing up, I would say, was a little toxic in terms of how the relationship was between my parents, but I was happy that they went together in a way, because then I wouldn't have met my dad's wife and I wouldn't have had my little sister from my dad's side. So it worked out in the end. I didn't hold a grudge against, why I only have one single parent, blah blah blah, because I got a lot of love from both sides. So anyway, from the age of 3, they've always been separated, and I grew up with my dad up until I would say 7 years old. So from when I was already 4, that's when my mom migrated to the Middle East to work as a nurse before she came to the UK. I'm shivering because, I don't know, I'm getting really nervous, and my body temperature decreases coming from a night shift, and it's getting worse because I'm talking about this. That she left for work, you know, to better my future and to better my family's future. You know, she did it for the sake of the family, basically, because my mum, since day one, has been a breadwinner in the family, in her side, not my dad's side. So I lived with my dad, and he raised me from, you know, since I was born up until I was 7. And then when I was 7, my mom, you know, there's a lot of process in my childhood that, you know, I would want to share in the future. Maybe not now because it's a lot. And a lot of them I blocked out from my memory just because I guess it's my my brain's way of coping with things and the trauma that I have faced when I was younger. So I tend to kind of not remember those certain details, but I still do remember the majority regardless of how young I was. The one major memory I have of my parents, but my mom have always told me this story of, you know, the dynamic between them two and how, you know, the relationship just didn't work out in the end. In each region we have like barangay, so I'm gonna try and translate it to English, but I don't know what it is in English in the top of my head right now. And they usually have a certain sort of like a mayor in play, like that's kind of the role that they would have in place for that person. So they're kind of in charge of that one area, and so that person got involved because both my families from both sides are quite well known in the area. So he got involved, and he knows, you know, both my mom and my dad, and they just basically give them an ultimatum for the both of them, saying, you know, for the sake of my well-being, is it necessary that they stay together, or is it better if they just separate and co-parent, basically? Anyway, I'm getting off track because my mind's like all over the place. When I found out that I was able to go live with my mum, obviously I was really, really happy because for 4 years of my life I didn't have my mum growing up. I didn't grow up with my cousins, I didn't grow up with my brothers, so I literally didn't know any other family other than my dad and my dad's side of the family, which is a whole nother story, to be honest, but I'll get into that in the future, because that's all part of my complicated childhood in a way. I say this because I have not met someone who I felt like I can ever relate to, or who had a story, who shared the same story that I did growing up, and then I could be like, that's the closest to a childhood story that I can ever relate to. I haven't met anybody that you know, I was able to connect with in that sense, because everyone that I knew that grew up always had a typical nuclear family, and up until now, you know, I was only one of the few that had single parent and had like such a turbulent childhood and family dynamic in a way. But then again, I wouldn't know because I don't know what goes behind closed doors, but this is just my perspectives and what I see, and, you know, the things that I share with other people and the things that they tell me. You know, it just doesn't align with how I've remembered my childhood. I wouldn't say it's terrible, but I also wouldn't put my own child through it. Let's just say that. And I found out I was going to live with my mum here in the UK. I was really happy because, you know, I wanted nothing more than to be with my mum. Like from even when I was a young age, like a little toddler, I've always looked up to my mum, even up till now, and I've always, you know, saw her as my light, and I always saw my mum as that one person that I will always look up to, and, you know, she's the guardian of my life, basically. Anyway, so yeah, I was really happy, but then that also meant saying goodbye to my dad, you know, because I'm not gonna be able to see him. So I remember my mom would tell me, this part always makes me emotional, because this is like, every time I think about it, this is like the biggest sacrifice that my dad has ever made for me. And it just makes me feel so sad to even think about how he feels. You know, at that time I didn't have my little sister, it was just me. So I was literally his only child. My brothers, we didn't have the same dad, so I was literally my dad's only child and only daughter. So like at that age, I didn't realize like how hurtful, how painful it is for a parent to say goodbye to their child. But let me calm down first. My mom had a conversation with him before she told him, obviously. I feel like in the back of his mind, he always knew that I was gonna have to part ways with him, because obviously I'm a girl. I need to grow up with a mom. Like, I need to be with my mother. Like, it's not really ideal for a little girl to grow up without a mom, you know. And same with a dad, but mom's love is just so unconditional, and it's needed for individuals' growth, you know. And my dad knew that, obviously. And in the beginning, he was so against it, because obviously it hurt him to say goodbye and to not see me every day. But ultimately, my mom had to tell him, if you really loved your daughter, you would know what's best for her, and you would know that her being with me and her having this opportunity, being in the UK, being abroad and going to school here and growing up here, is gonna benefit me, and it's gonna just open up, you know, opportunities for my future. And that's exactly, you know, what happened. You know, the opportunities that I've gotten growing up, I would have not had that, you know, being in the Philippines, because situations there was just really different. And mom and dad also had like a really strict like setup, where if my mom wasn't in the Philippines, I wasn't allowed to stay with my mom's side of the family, because I had to stay with my dad. And the only time I ever get to see my mom's side of the family is when she comes. That's why I didn't know my cousins and even my brothers like that. I didn't know anything of them. I just know that they're my biological brothers. And so the relationship wasn't very close bonded from the very beginning. Like, only recently have I really like bonded with them, and they've grown and they've realized, you know, all the things, all those years that happened during our childhood. We understand now why they had to happen, or why they even happened in the first place, and why those choices were made for us. But yeah, so my mom had to say that to him, and obviously, no matter how much my dad loved me, at the end of the day, he's gonna prioritize my well-being and my future, and of course he had to give me up. So, you know, he realized, okay, I have to give her away. She has to be with her mom. You know, being in another country is gonna be the best thing for her, the best thing that I can ever do for her. So that's what he did. So during that time between 7 and 8 years old, we were processing everything, me moving away, processing my visa and all that stuff, like moving out the country and coming here to the UK. So that process in itself was quite turbulent, I would say. And that's another story that I can tell another day again. So yeah, I came here just before I turned, well, a few months before I turned 8. So I had my first 8th birthday here in the UK. And, you know, I didn't see my dad, I would say, for 3 or 4 years later since coming here. And that was such a long time. And I still remember when I first saw him for the first time since leaving him, I just bawled my eyes out and we were both crying and we just held each other and we couldn't let go. Because for 7 years of my life, I've only just known him. Like, my dad wasn't even the one to tell me off when I do something wrong. It was always my mum, because she was the stricter one. She wore the pants in the relationship. She was the one that was very stern with me, and my dad was just very lenient, because it's like he always thought in the back of his head, if I tell her off, if I make her sad, if I make her mad, you know, I'm gonna lose her, because he knew that one day I'm gonna have to say goodbye and not be with him anymore. So those 4 years of me not being with him after moving here, it felt like I really didn't know him, because obviously there's 4 years of my life where I wasn't with him, and time passes, and obviously we do talk on the phone and stuff like that, but there's only so much you can say to someone without fully like knowing how they are as a person, what their habits are, what they like, what they dislike, you know. So every time we'd have a conversation, it would be very simple, as like, how are you doing in school, what are your grades, stuff like that. But you know, I've always kept that relationship with my dad. I have never ever felt any sort of resentment, any hatred, anything with him. Even when that time when I found out that I was, you know, gonna have a little sister, and I did not find out until I already met her, and she was already, what, 6 years old. So for all that time of her life, I didn't even know she existed. I just came back home to Philippines, and then she was there. I didn't even have to question him. I didn't even have to ask, because I already knew that she was my sister. Like, I didn't even, you know, interrogate him. I didn't feel sad or angry, like, why didn't you tell me this? I just felt happy for him, because now he's got his own little family, and it's almost like I feel relieved that he's got that, he's got like a mini me again that he couldn't have for the majority of my time growing up, you know. But he had her, and so then I had to start building a relationship with my sister as well, slowly but surely. But it was still really like sort of a weird thing, because I didn't know where to start, because she was already grown in a way. Like, she was still a child, but she wasn't a baby, you know. She probably just saw pictures of me and heard stories about me, because my dad would always tell me, you know, he would always speak so highly of me, because that's what he remembers. But he doesn't know how I was being a teenager, and how stubborn I could be, and the fights that I would have with my mom. Like, he didn't know any of that, because I wouldn't tell him, or that I felt like he just didn't need to know, in a way. Like, I just wanted him to remember me when I was little, and I was so obedient, and I was such a good kid, and I was so smart, you know, in school. And he would always tell me that. He'd always say, you deserve so much, and you're so smart, and this is how I remember you, and you know, I can't wait to see you thrive in life one day. So that for the majority of my life, you know, up until the last time I saw him, that was the relationship with us. I would just talk to him on the phone, message him, update him on anything that's going on in my life. He even met my first boyfriend ever, and even ZJ hasn't even met my dad before he passed. So I felt like, ugh, damn, like, why did it have to be him? You know, why couldn't he have been CJ? You know, but you know, life, that's what happens in life, I guess. Anyway, so that was the relationship with us. It was all online, like communication. And then when I do see him, I would visit him, and I would spend time with him, and I would give him I say pasalubong, which is basically gifts from here, and then I would take it there and then give it to him, and I would take them out as a family, and it'll just be us. And it was nice, you know, because I've always ever just had nice memories with my dad. Like, with him personally, I never remembered anything terrible or sad or something to resent him for. Like, never. He's always been so good to me, and he's always put me in such a pedestal that I feel like I have to upkeep that. But not in a way where that's a pressure on me, but it's like that's a goal that I need to reach, because I need to show him, I need to prove to him, even though I know he's so proud of me. So that goes on until I saw him last time, which was 2020. Yeah, 2020, that year. And I remember, like, even before I came to see him, like, I was still here in the UK. You know, it was like days or weeks before I was due to fly over there in the Philippines. And then he would, like, tell me about his condition. How, you know, he feels like he's got issues with his bowels and stuff. Like, this is a bit TMI, but you know, this is important to note if someone is going through that, you know, constant pain of going to the toilet, you know, constant, like, your bowel movement is just not right. It's just, it hurts to even sit down. And in the beginning we're like, okay, maybe it's just hemorrhoids, blah blah blah, but it was going on for months. And the thing with my dad is that he never told me when he was in pain. That was the first time in my life of speaking to him that he told me he was in pain. The first and only time ever. So he would update me saying, oh, he has a colonoscopy due, and they took biopsies and all that stuff. So that's as far as we got. And then I saw him, and then they were still in the process of investigating what's going on, blah blah blah. That's when I came to visit him, and we were discussing it, and I was just telling him, like, you need to go to the doctors, like, you need to get this sorted out, because it doesn't sound right at all. Sorry, I had to change my battery because it was running low. Anyway, yeah, well, I saw him, and we were just discussing his condition, and I was just asking him, like, is he not getting any better? And he keeps telling me, like, no, I haven't gone to the toilet and felt like I've fully relieved myself, and I felt okay, and it felt healthy. Like, every time, you know, he'd go to the toilet, he'd have some issues, or he'd be in so much pain, and I can't even imagine how he felt going through all of that, you know. So throughout the time that I was there, he was having colonoscopies. They were investigating it, and they were taking their time. Like, they were taking so much time. And then I stayed there, I think, until after New Year's. And then our last conversation with him physically was me saying, I'll be back, and I'll make sure when I come back that, you know, I've got my degree to show you, and that I've got so much accomplishments that I want to share with you when I come back. because I was so sure that I was gonna see him again. And he told me, like, I'll see you soon. But I had no idea that was gonna be the last time that I was ever gonna lay my eyes on him. I didn't even say goodbye. I just said, I'll see you soon. So I came back, didn't think anything was wrong, you know. In the back of my head, I kept it that, you know, something's wrong with him and he's not okay. So every now and then I would keep asking for updates from him. And, you know, when I came back, he was still posting stuff on Facebook, like pictures, photos, and I would comment and he would comment back. So I knew that he was, you know, still okay, and he was still interacting, and we were still talking. And I remember the last thing that he posted was these pictures of some mangoes, and these are like my favorite fruit ever. They're not just like typical mangoes that you get here from the UK. There's specific mangoes that it's really weird, but my favorite way to eat them is with vinegar, soy sauce and salt. It's a Filipino thing. You'll understand if you're Filipino, I guess. But yeah, those are like my favorite things to eat ever. And then I remember he posted that, and my mom commented saying, this is Inday, like they call me Inday, and they're like, oh, this is Inday's favorite fruit ever, you're gonna make her so jealous. And then he was like, oh my gosh, really? I didn't even know that. And when I read that, I felt like my heart sank a little bit, because it kind of reminded me how little my dad knew of me, in a way. Like these little things, what my favorite fruit was, and that was because of all the years that we didn't get to share together, and that I didn't get to share with him growing up, and, you know, not having a dad present physically. And it was not even his fault, and it's not my fault, it's not my mom's fault, it's just a circumstance that we all had to deal with, and we all had to we have dealt with. Basically, like, that was just life, and you couldn't help it, you know. I wish he was here with me, and I wish I grew up with him, but then life doesn't work that way, I guess. So he comments that saying, oh, I had no idea that's her favorite fruit. And then he comments, I still remember this, and it will always forever engrave in my mind, saying, and he was saying after that, like, I'll make sure to save so much for her when she comes back. Like, he stated that, you know, he's confident that we will see each other again. And when I read that, I was just like, I commented back saying, I can't wait, blah blah blah, like, you're making me so hungry right now. Like, you know, like, we were still commenting on each other's photos, he was still liking my posts and all that stuff. Like, I knew he was around and he was still active. And then, you know, I was in my final year of uni. It was COVID happened. And then over time, because during that picture, the last photo that he posted, that was around, I would say, February, around March, I think, because he still made it to his 51st birthday. No, 52nd. He was 52. So his birthday was around March, and he still managed to make it through. And I remember his wife posted a photo of them, you know, celebrating, and I just saw he was so skinny. From the last time I remember, he was so skinny. And And I just felt in my heart like, it just doesn't look right. It just doesn't look right. Like, he should not look like this, because I know he doesn't look like this because he eats so well. Like, I know my dad, he eats so well. And he's known for having a big tummy, you know, we would always tease him of that. But he looked so scrawny and he looked so sick. And I wish I picked it up from the moment I saw that, but I don't know. You know when you can see something and it's happening slowly and you kind of not getting the full picture, but you're getting bits of it, but you don't want to fully accept it. And that's what I did. I can see he didn't look right, but I didn't want to address it because I didn't want to accept that there was something wrong with my dad. Like, in my head, I kept saying, he's strong, he's so strong, nothing's gonna happen to him. Like, this is how I know him. Like, he's so strong. Like, he's my Superman. So, I didn't say anything. I didn't comment on his weight loss and stuff like that. And obviously, if you've got bowel issues, that's gonna affect your weight a lot, because then your digestive systems is just all messed up, right? I didn't know that. I just asked him, like, how are you? And again, knowing my dad, he didn't want to worry me, so he just said, I'm okay, I'm just still waiting for results. Like, still waiting for the biopsy results. Like, how long does it fucking take to, you know, do all these checks? But they didn't care because they didn't have the money to fast track it, basically. And I didn't know this. I wish I knew that, you know, I could have potentially helped with, like, fast tracking it and getting it done sooner. But because he didn't update me, he didn't tell me. And then April rolls around. And I get a call, you know, like, I haven't spoken to my dad in a while, because I thought, okay, he's busy, blah blah blah, but I was still talking to my little sister, but she didn't tell me anything. You know, I was doing my essay one day. It's my final year. I was writing out my dissertation. I get a call from my aunt, which was my dad's wife. And then she's just crying. I'm crying. And I knew something was wrong. And I just picked it up and I was like, what's wrong? Why are you crying? And I did not expect the worst to come. And she just tells me, like, she apologizes because she knew that they sort of messed up in a way. So she calls me saying, I'm really sorry. We haven't told you anything. We haven't updated you, but basically your dad's been so sick. So sick that he's confused. Because whatever is happening to him down there has spread. It's spread so much to his brain, and it's spreading so fast that it's affecting his confusion, and he can't even recognize anybody. He doesn't even know himself. He can't even speak. He was just spacing out, and he was in so much pain that they literally have to put him like sedate him, basically, just so that he can sleep and he can rest and he can be of peace. And when I heard this, like, my whole world just, like, fell into pieces, because I just thought, what the fuck is happening to him, and how can I get him out of this situation. How can I help him? Because I'm all the way here, like fucking 8,000 miles away from him. I don't even know, like I'm so far away. It's in the middle of fucking COVID. I can't go because the whole country is on lockdown. Philippines is literally not letting anybody in, especially not from the UK. So I was just like, what's going on? I was so confused. I didn't know what to say. I just started crying and I was like, what do you mean? Why are you telling me this now? And then she's just like starting to fill me in on what's been happening to him, and she just kept apologizing. And I didn't even have to ask, like kept asking her why, while I wasn't getting mad at her, because I knew, my dad told her, don't say anything to her. She's in the final year of her uni. She's really stressed out. Like, even in his last moments, that's all he can think about was me getting stressed out over my uni work. Like, he didn't even want to bother me and say, I need help, I'm in pain. Like, I didn't even want to do that because he was thinking of me and how I was gonna feel, but I had no idea. So I was crying. I didn't know what to do. I just, like, when you just hear something so shocking and you just go numb and you don't know what to do with yourself, and your ears are ringing because you feel like your brain is just confused and it's fuzzy, and it's like something just went off in your brain, and then your ears are just like making that noise, just ringing, and you can't hear anything else. Like, you can't even hear yourself think. So I asked her, like, what's gonna happen now? Like, is he gonna make it? Like, what's gonna happen? And she told me, right now, the only thing they can do is put him through dialysis, because he reached his kidneys, basically. To put him through dialysis just so that it can decrease the confusion, just so we can have a normal conversation with him. But it's not gonna do anything. It wasn't gonna save him. Like, it's too late. Like, it's too late. And the more I talked with her, the more my heart was just breaking, because I knew that this was it and I couldn't do anything. So I was just telling her, like, why are we gonna put him through the process of dialysis when he's in a state of confusion? Why are we gonna put that on him when he's not even gonna make things better? He's just gonna be in more pain. Like, why are we doing this to him? He doesn't deserve this. I couldn't even have a conversation with him. I couldn't talk to him. I couldn't say goodbye, and he couldn't recognize me. And she was telling me, although he didn't know anybody in the room, in his sleep, he just kept repeating my name. And he just kept asking for me. And when I heard that, I didn't know how to feel. I was just so heartbroken. And then I was getting flashbacks of all the missed moments that we had together. All the moments that I could have had with him, and I just had this wash of guilt over me, because I thought I'm such a bad daughter that I didn't even know this was happening to him. And how could I have not known? How could I have, I was so frustrated with myself. Like, how could I have not checked up on him? Like, I'm so bad. Like, why am I like this? And I blamed myself for so long. Even till now, I still struggle with the guilt. So she was telling me this, and I was just getting more and more sad, and I don't know how much, like, sadder I can get, basically. So she was saying, even though he's in a state of confusion, he can still hear you, so, just talk to him. And then we were on FaceTime, I could just see him laying on bed, and he looked knocked out. He didn't even look like himself. Like, he looks like one of those confused patients that you see in the hospital, you know, just like knocked out and sedated because they were in such a state of manic, because they were just so confused of where they're at, who they are, and who they're with. And he was like that. And I just look at him and I'm like, I'm just so sorry. Like, I apologize to him, like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I'm so sorry, I didn't know. And then I was just telling him how much I loved him, and that I just told him, if you really can't hang on anymore, if you really can't do it, then just let it go. Just let it go, because all I want for you is to be at peace, because you've never had peace in your life. All I want is for you to just be happy and be at rest and not be in pain anymore. Like, I don't want you to be in pain anymore. So I was just telling him this. I don't know if he can hear me. He wasn't responding because he was sedated. But I just literally told him everything that I wanted to say, because I didn't want to wait. But there were so many things that I wish I could have said still. But again, I did the same mistake that I did with my grandma, where I withheld a lot of things that I wanted to say because I had hope. I had hope that he was going to wake up and he was going to talk to me, and then I could say it to him. You know, I could physically say it to him, and then he acknowledging it and he's recognizing what I'm saying. That's what I was hoping for, but stupid me, I didn't take the opportunity to just say whilst he was still there, like while he was still physically and, you know, somewhat mentally there. I didn't take it. So we hung up after, you know, he had, you know, more talking, because I didn't really know how to react, how to go about the conversation anymore. Like, I literally, someone told you, like, your dad is about to die, but we don't know how long he's got. So at that point, you know, it was just me and Kay in the flat. My mom was all the way in Brighton, obviously because of lockdown they couldn't travel. So I just knocked on her door. And I just broke down, and I just told her everything that I found out. And she was crying with me because she didn't know how to feel. She just felt hurt for me. And we were both just crying, and I was just telling her I don't know what to do. I feel so lost. I feel so like weak and hopeless. I didn't know, how do you feel in that situation? So I call ZJ. After I calm down a little bit, I call him and I tell him everything that I've just found out as well, and everything that just happened. So he comes over, and obviously at that point you weren't really supposed to have people in the household, but you could have bubble. So he was part of my bubble. And at that point, I didn't give a fuck. I was like, I don't care. And I know that's really selfish, but I just needed someone to be there, because I couldn't have my mom at that point, you know, straight away. So I just needed CJ and Kay to be there for me, because I didn't know what to do. So, I found out, I think it was, I can't remember what day it was, maybe a Friday, I don't know. Because then I was due to go to work the next day, but I didn't, obviously because of what happened. I told them, and then I was just crying all day, all night. I couldn't shake it off my head, because I knew he was still there and alive, but I didn't know how long he had left. And then I went to work on Sunday, and I thought, okay, maybe I can distract myself being at work. You know, surely I'm not gonna get the news, bad news, whilst I was at work. Again, silly me, stupid me. I was at work. It wasn't even like a few hours into the shift, and I received a message from my aunt saying, he's gone. And I just didn't know what to do. I just started crying. Everybody was just staring at me. And then I couldn't breathe. I literally just had to pull one of the nurses that I worked with a couple of times, and the HCA as well. And I was just telling them, I need to go, and they were worried because they were like, well, why, what's happening? Like, I was hyperventilating. I was like, I need to go now, I need to go. And then I was telling them, like, I just found out my dad passed away, like, I need to go now. So I took off everything. Had my PPE on. I took it all off. I rushed downstairs. I called my aunt straight away, and I was just telling her, please tell me what's happening. And then she said, he's gone, like, he's gone. He just gone this morning. And I was like, I don't know what to say. We were both just crying on the phone. And I remember I called Uber to go home because I didn't want to take the bus. I was in a mess. Like, I was just in such a messy state. So I took the Uber home. And on the Uber home, I hear that ringing in my ear again, you know, when everything just goes quiet and then it's just ringing and then your whole body just goes numb, and I could not feel a thing. I couldn't even cry. I just stopped crying. I couldn't cry. And then I tried to cry because I was like, okay, I just need to let it out. But I couldn't. And I was just numb. I was numb all the way when I got home. And then when I saw Kay, that's when I just started crying all over again. And then that was basically the process of me finding out and me just going through it. Obviously, I couldn't finish my dissertation. I had to defer it a later date, blah, blah, blah. And then I couldn't even go home. I couldn't say goodbye to him. I couldn't go home to see his funeral. I had to watch everything online. I had to write my eulogy. I had to say it over a camera, and they just had to play it at his funeral. Like, could you imagine losing your dad, not getting to say goodbye, thinking you're gonna see them again, and then having to watch everything all on the screen? His funeral. Like, the last time you'll ever see him physically on this earth is through a fucking screen. And because of that, and I think that's the number one reason why my mind is stopping me from accepting his death to this day. Like, I know he's dead, but I don't know that he's really, really gone, you know? Like, I know he's not here anymore, but it just doesn't feel like that. Like, I sometimes have to snap out of it and remind myself, like, you don't have a dad anymore. You don't have a dad that can walk you down the aisle when you get married. You don't have a dad to say, look, I've finished uni. I finished my master's. I finished and accomplished all my, educational needs. I've got a stable career. And the number one thing that I wanted from my dad was to buy him a house, to give him a home, to give him a stable home, and for him to live comfortably, because he worked so hard. And the job that he had, it wasn't sustainable. He had a motorcycle that would basically take people wherever they need to go. Like, that's what he did for a living. You don't get jack shit from doing that. You just get barely enough maybe to buy food, but nothing more, and I was sending him money as much as I can when I could, because I was still in uni. And that's another thing I felt guilty. Like, I wish I didn't buy those clothes that I didn't need. I wish I didn't buy that fucking makeup that I didn't need, because I should have just given it to him. But I was too selfish, because I took it for granted, because I just thought that my dad was gonna be there for a long, long time. But life doesn't work that way. So I watched everything on the screen, his funeral. And then after that, I kind of dissociated myself from everything and everyone. Even my mom was telling me, come home, come to Brighton, stay with me. And I was just like, no. And at that point, I just learned to do everything by myself and to go through all the emotions by myself. I isolated myself. Even though we were already in isolation, I still isolated myself. And as we were already introducing, you know, bubbles and getting rid of it, and people were going out and doing stuff, activities were coming back, you know, my friends came to see me for see us, me and Kay, for the first time in a long time, you know, during this year. I think it was summertime or whatever, and I didn't want to go out, I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to be in my own bubble, in my own space. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't mind talking to them, but as long as it was in the house. Like anything outside of that, I didn't want to do any activities. I didn't want to take my mind off it, because I just wanted to be by myself. And I don't know why that is, because usually when people go through death, they want to be distracted as much as possible, but I did the exact opposite. And I feel like, I don't know if that was the right thing for me to do, if that was healthy, but I did it. And actually there's not much progress from it, other than I don't cry as much anymore. Sometimes I would remember, oh shit, it's, you know, the month of his death anniversary, not the year, but every 19th it'd be a significant number for me. And especially during the first year of his death, you know, every month I would just feel so low and so sad. And then over time that kind of fades away. Those times I would forget, and then I would have the, you know, guilty feeling, and I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot, you know, like I'm such a bad daughter, blah blah blah. But then I just grow to learn that, you know, that's how it works. You don't forget about it. You just sort of move along, and you know, this is your life now, like without him, whether you like it or not. And there's so many things that I wanted to say to him, like so many things. I'm glad I got to say I love you, at least, because that's what I wanted him to hear the most. I love you, and I appreciate everything you do. But I wish I said more. I wish I told him, remember that time when you gave me up, you know, to live with mom? And thank you for that. Like, I wanted to thank him for that, because that was the biggest sacrifice he could have ever made. Because he could have fought with mom, because at that time he would have been able to get custody of me, because he's the one living in the Philippines, not my mom. So he could have fully gotten the rights to have me, you know, as a full custody. Like, my mom would have had to go through legal battles to get, you know, to get me, basically. But he didn't allow that, because he wanted me to have a good future, and I wanted to thank him for that. There were so many things that I wanted to apologize and say sorry I couldn't give you what I promised you, but I wanted to give him hope, you know, even when he's resting in heaven. I wanted to let him know and reassure him that I would take care of, you know, my little sister and my aunt, and I will take care of the both of them, and I will do everything I can to, you know, always have them in my life despite you not being there, because he was the bridge of our relationship. Because, you know, he was the one constantly updating me on everything that's going on in their life, because at that point I'm constantly talking with my sister, because she was still really shy. Even like, it was just after his death that she really opened up to me, and we would talk about personal things, and that's when I got to know her a little bit more, and the relationship between us just kind of grew a lot stronger, because I would understand her more. And honestly, I feel for her, because at least I got to know my dad for, at that point, 22 years of my life. You know, I got to experience how good of a dad he was. And she only had half of that. You know, imagine being a little girl and not going through your teenage years with your dad. It's a lot to take in. But, you know, I would always remind her, I'm so proud of you, you're so strong, and no matter what happens, I'll always be here. Despite our dad not being here for us anymore, I'll always be here, and I will fight for you no matter what. And I will love you till my last breath, because you're my sister, you're my only sister, you're my family. And I made a promise to him that I will look after you and I will love you, you know, forever. And I wanted to say, I wish I got to say that to him, but I know he knows this, because I, you know, every now and then I would talk to him, especially when I'm in trouble emotionally. The first person I would reach out to is him, and I would just talk to him, and I would just feel so much better. And I would always ask for his guidance, and I would always ask for his healing and his, you know, give me a peace of mind whenever my mind just feels it's too much, like it's too crazy, like it's too much going on. And it could happen sometimes. It's mellowed down a lot more now that I'm growing up more and realizing more things and knowing how to cope with my emotions a lot better. But I would always ask him first, you know, first and foremost. It would be my dad I would reach out to, and I would tell him, you know, ask for him for support whenever I needed it. And I always remind him, you know, thank you for everything, and I hope you're okay up there, and I hope you're having a fun time, at least with God. And, you know, everybody that I've lost in life and that we've lost in life is up there, you know, having a nice time with you. And I don't know to which point I can feel like, okay, I've accepted this, you know, this is how it is. But time will only tell. But yeah, I think I really just wanted to vent, because sometimes I feel like unless that person has gone through the same thing, nobody really understands how it feels to lose a dad, but more so to lose a dad that you really known has always existed, but not know them fully. And it's such a complicated, conflicting relationship and emotion, because you know they're your dad and you love them as your dad unconditionally, but you just don't know them fully 100%, you know, because life is so shit that you can't have them in your life the way that you want them to, because it doesn't work like that. And some people are just lucky. But no matter what, I am still blessed to have him as my dad and to have mom as my mom. I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, obviously I wish that I'd had my dad growing up, but I'm thankful for him and everything that he's shown me, and the unconditional love that he gave me, and that he will continue to give me as I live on. And I wish he got to meet CJ. I wish my children will have grandparents aside from my mom. But what can you do? So I guess I'll end this here, because to be honest, I didn't really know how to go about this video. I just really wanted to share how I feel, so that it would help out those who are in the same position as me, who's probably struggling with grief and their emotions. And I can tell you now, it'll get better. It'll always get better, despite of how it feels, despite of how broken you feel, despite of how you feel like things are just not gonna move on from here. It will. You just gotta give it time, just with everything else. When you're in a space of heartbreak and low moods and depression, and just a low dark space, you need to remember that time is your best friend, But time is also your worst enemy, and it can be a bitch. It can be a bitch, but you just have to let it happen. You just have to realize that people are not there forever, I guess, despite of how much you want them to. And the good people are always taken away first. I noticed that in life. The good people are always taken away first. And after my dad, a lot of my family from my dad's side passed away as well, and it's just so sudden. It's just so much loss that I had to overcome, and I still haven't even accepted my own dad's death. It was just so much to handle in 1 year. But you know, I want to tell you guys, if you're going through this 2 years later, maybe you'll still feel the same, but it's okay. It's okay. And if you need help, then go get help. Like, I didn't get help because I had a good support system, and I'm so thankful that I'm strong enough to go through everything that I went through and still come out sane. Because some people may not. Some people may have their dad as their only sole, source of love and source of family. And I'm lucky that I have more than my dad. And that's why I got out alive and safe and happy, and still very, very blessed. But yeah, it will get better. And if you're going through it now, just let it out, cry it out, and do what you can to heal yourself. But try to do it in a healthy way, where in the end you don't have any guilt. You don't have any pieces to pick up more than where you left off or what you started from. And just make sure you look after yourself, and surround yourself with good people and people that love and care for you. So I'm gonna end it here. Sorry that it's been such a long video. I'm not gonna do much editing, to be honest, because I just wanted this video to come out as it is. I'll probably just cut out bits where I'm struggling to put my sentences together, because otherwise people are just gonna be like, okay, you're too jarring. So yeah, I'm sorry for the crying, but that's just emotions, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. And if you want to cry, it's okay. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Please look after yourself, and just stay happy. That's all I can say. Stay happy. And for those who are religious, keep praying. Don't lose your faith, because I could have lost my faith, because I could have questioned my religion and God and asked him why my dad, why would you take him away from me, like why would you do that? But don't question that. Just think, I know doesn't make sense, everything happens for a reason, but it really does. Maybe I don't know the reason why he was taken away so soon, but maybe I'll know later on, who knows. But yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.